The Winnipeg Jets have made a sneaky good signing here today as free agent frenzy rolls on. Kevin Cheveldayoff and the Winnipeg Jets have signed former Boston Bruin Cole Koepke to a 1-year, $1 million deal. And yes, this is a depth signing, but it does bring along with it many, many more implications, more things to talk about. Of course, we're going to discuss who Cole Koepke is as a player, where he fits on the Jets, and why the Jets would have wanted to target him. But before we do jump into the video, I could not help but notice that about 82% of you guys who watched our last video were not subscribed to the Jets Digest channel. I'd highly suggest you throw us a subscription. We're going to be talking about, if any other signings come in here. There's a lot more RFAs, stuff like Velarde, Samberg, many more things to happen for the Jets in this offseason. We're also waiting on, Nikolai Ehlers to see where he's going to go. Hopefully the Jets can figure out something there and maybe entice him to stay. I don't think it's going to happen, but alas, we will wait and hope and see because I love that player. But anyways, that's not what we're here to talk about. We are here to talk about free agent frenzy and the first move that the Winnipeg Jets made, which is, of course, signing Cole Koepke. And I just want to say this, I just want to add in, I saw some frustration by Jets fans that, the Jets aren't out there doing the big deals, they aren't out there signing anything. There's always going to be the, Chevy's at the cabin already kind of discourse at free agency. But honestly, I have no problem with that. I think that around free agency is when the worst deals are handed out. I always think back to, I know this is almost a decade ago now, but 2016 when like Louis Eriksson, Andrew Ladd, we all know Andrew Ladd. Hopefully you guys remember him. All those crazy deals were handed out that year. Free agency always seems to be a place where teams get themselves into more trouble than they need to. And especially with, Winnipeg being a place where players don't always want to come to, you might have to pay a premium to get a guy to come here. I'm glad to see that the Jets decided not to go down that route. However, we're still waiting for Nick Ehlers, and God, I really, really hope he gets, we're able to get him back. But again, not the point of this video. So let's talk about Cole Koepke. Let's actually first dive over to our little announcement here from Darren Dreger, the classic Kevin Cheveldayoff insider for the Jets. And he has a straight to the point, simple tweet, 1 year, $1 million for Cole Koepke in Winnipeg. So we know the terms of the deal. It's a very simple deal. Again, he's a depth player. Last year he played with the Boston Bruins. Let's hop over to his player card. Last year was also his first season actually playing, close to a full season. Before that, he had only played, a handful of games, 16 or so, back with the Lightning, who he was with before. But in his first outing and, getting to play almost a full season here, he had 10 goals, 7 assists for 17 points in 73 games. Obviously not somebody who's going to be jumping off the page at you when you look at his stat sheet, but I think that kind of hides what Cole Koepke can bring to the table. First of all, he is a Minnesotan. I know that that's not as important, but it's always nice to get guys to come in here who are, close to home. And I would imagine that was one of the reasons why, the Winnipeg Jets went after him. And also another reason why he would have signed here. He's also actually family friends with Neil Pionk. So growing up, they were buddies, and it's always good to have, somebody in the dressing room to kind of welcome a new guy in. And make sure that he's, well supported, probably going to be roommates, I would imagine, on their road trips. But as a whole, this guy isn't going to be, he's not going to be a game breaker for the Winnipeg Jets, but he will provide some value. And let's hop over to our little graphic here given to us on Twitter by JFresh Hockey. I would highly suggest you guys go give JFresh a follow. He always posts these really interesting player cards. With data from Puckpedia, Top Down Hockey. Big shout out to all those guys for, making understanding the more nuanced parts of the game easier. But here you can see the JFresh card for Cole Koepke. And if you're new to what these cards are, I'll explain them really quickly. Basically, what you, in very simple terms, it breaks up a player into a couple different areas, showing, where he ranks amongst the league in that category. So let's take a look at even strength offense. You see 44%. 44%, that means he's the 44th percentile, which means he's about, an average middle of the pack player when it comes to generating offense at even strength. As you can see, the big blue one, blue is good, red's bad. The big blue one that you see right in front of your face, 90% is his even strength defense. And this is where I think Cole Koepke is going to provide all of his value for the Winnipeg Jets. He did not play PK or PP last year, but I would imagine, considering he is a defense-first kind of guy, the Winnipeg Jets are probably going to use him in that role. And in my opinion, this just seems like a replacement for Mason Appleton, a fourth-line guy who's good defensively, maybe has a good motor, and hopefully can maybe contribute offensively. At this point, I would expect him to play in that slot. Let's hop over to the lineup. You can kind of see a little projected lineup here, grabbed from Daily Faceoff. Again, shout out to those guys. But right here, this has him ranked, set in at the third right wing spot, right next to Nemesnikov and Niederreiter. Obviously, we all know that Adam Lowry is injured and will likely be out until December, maybe even January, as he's getting his hip replaced, or at least hip surgery. Let's just say hip surgery. But regardless, I see this guy as, being able to contribute on the PK and playing, a defense-first style of game. As we all know, the Winnipeg Jets love to roll out a third line that is considered their shutdown line. The reason for that is, as much as we love Mark Scheifele, he's not, Mark Scheifele and his line, they're not the prototypical first line that can go up against opposing teams' first lines. Like, you're never going to want a matchup of, Scheifele, Connor, and Velarde against Nathan McKinnon or Sasha Barkov, or, pick your poison when it comes to top lines in the NHL. What they do is they are able to, the Winnipeg Jets like to put Adam Lowry up against that line so he can shut them down, and then give a softer matchup to Scheifele that they can go in, use their skill to walk around players, score goals, and, get the best out of them. So I just see Cole Koepke as kind of being the guy to fit into that role. You have guys like Morgan Barron, you've got guys like, who else? David Gustafson, who are probably going to be vying to, Alex Iafallo, I didn't even mention him, who will be kind of vying for that spot if they're not further up in the lineup, of course. But this just gives the Jets another option for, a guy they can plug in who's going to be responsible defensively. And so that's why I see this, despite the fact that it is just a depth signing, a $1 million, it's tidy business. You're not getting yourself into trouble with having too much term or too much money given away. And plus, at this point, the Jets still need to keep their cap space, not looking too bad, because they still have to re-sign Dave Velarde. They've got to re-sign Dylan Samberg, who's due for a big pay upgrade. And, of course, as we're waiting to see who's going to get the big fish of Nikolai Ehlers, they're still in that game. Kevin Cheveldayoff has said many, many times that he wants to, try until he can't. He's going to talk to Nikolai Ehlers and his agent until he's not allowed to anymore, into a point where it's considered tampering, which has been much talked about in the news, but nothing, of course, coming from it. But either way, interesting little pickup for the Jets here. I think that he's going to be, again, at very least, safe. Like, I just don't think that this will be something that will, make the Jets worse at all. And unless Scott Arniel decides to put him way up in the lineup higher than he should be. But I don't see that happening, considering, the guys above him are usually pretty well established. But either way, it is what it is. We're going to be talking a lot more about the rest of the Jets moves this offseason. We'll have a video on Tanner Pearson coming up very shortly. And lots more stuff to go. Very exciting time. If you're a Jets fan, make sure you like the video. And I will see you with the next one.